Yes guys, welcome back to another video. Today I'm analyzing Real Madrid versus Leganes, a game where I think Ancelotti may have messed up a little bit defensively, but let's get into it. Alright, so first thing I want to highlight is Real Madrid starting with a 4-2-3-1. This isn't anything special or new. Usually we would play 4-2-3-1. However, the personnel is definitely different. So as you can see, Brahim is starting on the left wing and Arda Güler is starting on the right wing. Now, this is interesting because these two players are not out-and-out wingers like Rodrigo and Vinicius. So let's see what Ancelotti was cooking up. You can tell for sure that Arda is a left footer and Brahim can go left or right, but he likes to cut inside as well. So I'm thinking that they're going to be playing with some inside forwards here, and that's what it looked like from the starting 11. Alright, we're 10 minutes in here, and just like I was saying earlier, Arda is playing as like an inside winger type role, and it's interesting because I honestly think this was good tactics from Ancelotti, because we know Vasquez was a winger, he's not really a fullback. Fran Garcia playing left back, gets forward and is rapid as well. So it's interesting to see how he's maximizing the team for the fullbacks, which are probably the weakest points in the team on this game day. So as you can see here, Arda Güler kind of drops deep a little bit, and the fullback, thinking that he's a winger, he's going to be looking at Arda Güler. He's not really going to be looking at the fullback Vasquez making the run in behind. So this movement from Arda creates a space for Vasquez to run into, and Jude Bellingham minutes in. Now, 20 minutes in, we see the same thing. Vasquez pushing high. Arda Güler, I believe, is very central here. So far, Leganes has not been able to cope with the tactics that Ancelotti has employed, but Real have not capitalized. And yet again, Fran Garcia, one of the fullbacks, this time on the left side, very aggressive. You don't often see Ancelotti playing with that. But against weaker teams, it makes sense. You want to play aggressive, especially when you have the pace for like Fran Garcia does. But in big games like against the bigger European rivals, you'll see Ancelotti play with Carvajal and Mendy. Carvajal goes forward, but Mendy sits a little bit more. He's a little bit more defensively solid. So it's interesting to see the tactical flexibility that Ancelotti employed in this game. Now I want to highlight this here. So Fran keeps running, taking space very well. The four attackers are occupying the same space, which is not ideal. They should be making different runs so that the defense either tracks and follows, and then that creates even more gaps for your teammates or Real Madrid players to run into. But let's also show where they should be. So yeah, so basically Bellingham back post, Brahim maybe near post, a little bit further back, top of the box since Mbappe is going near post, and Modric stay top of the box, and Arda even further back post just in case. Here's another example of the kind of inside winger role that Ancelotti employed this game, but this time instead of it being Arda Güler, it was Brahim Diaz. You can see him sitting in the pocket between the midfield and the defense, which is really difficult for Leganes to deal with. As you can see, their right back is pointing to the midfielder to pick up Brahim, but the midfielder's thinking that the right back has it, so it causes some confusion between the defensive lines, and it also creates some space for Fran to go through, and you could see the fullback knows Fran is making the run, so he's not going to go tight to Brahim. So in this situation, Bellingham does well to not play it into Fran because their fullback is kind of leaning towards that side already. Okay, so here's another example. Lucas Vasquez is playing very high. Now I said earlier that Güler dropping creates space for Vasquez, but Vasquez playing high also creates space for Güler to drop deep and collect the ball. So they kind of work in a symbiotic relationship, which is good, again, tactics from Ancelotti. Alright, so this is straight from kickoff. Now I'll stop it right there. So Camavinga did not track that runner, which is not the end of the world. Really, Fran should also track him, but I also want to give some credit to Leganes. I was talking about Ancelotti playing very aggressive with the fullbacks. it took them to go a goal down. However, Leganes played quite well through the width here and the fullback. And let's see how this goes. So I want to stop it again. Rudiger was very, very slow to react there. Typically, he can see the whole field here. Or not the whole field, but typically when you're a center back and you can see that the fullback is making a run and your fullback is not tracking him or can't because he's full speed, you got to anticipate that and sprint back sooner. Let's see how he recovers. Now I want to stop it again. Rudiger, I don't know if you're tired from international duty, but this is extremely poor. Rudiger needs to be in this position here. Instead, he leaves Asensio to cover both the near post and the far post. And, you know, that's really not fair to do to your center back partner. Now, yes, Rudiger should have been in a better position, but also Modric needs to be sprinting to close this passing lane off. At least put your body in between the passing lane just to cut off that option. Alright, now we're going to look at the second goal that Leganes scored. And this is, you know, I was praising Ancelotti for his fullback tactics earlier, but when you play with someone like Vasquez who doesn't have the pace to get back, it's an issue. And you can see Vasquez is out of position. That was a quick transition, and they've got acres of space to sprint into. Similar to the first goal, actually, they scored from one of the widths, from the right wing, and now they're attacking down the left wing. Let's see. That was just a piece of brilliance. Asensio got absolutely cooked on that play. And you know what happens. He's had a great season. I don't want to be too harsh on him, but that was very poor defending. And yet again, Modric late to cover the passing lane, the diagonal pass. You need to be at the very least, goal side of this player. Yeah, so really poor defending on those two goals, and actually very similar goals in their own right. Both came from the width, dribbled to the line, and pulled it back for an easy tap in. So I think if we play with our normal tactics, with Mendy, with not so aggressive fullbacks, this won't be as much of an issue, which is why I think some people are overreacting on social media, saying that Madrid are, you know, falling apart. I don't think that's the case. I think that with the full squad back, with Carvajal, with Mendy, with Rudiger being, you know, fit and seemed like he was quite tired today, I think these things will all get ironed out. So, alright, we are into the second half now. Of course, Real is losing 2-1 at this moment. So, interesting to see, you know, every top team, when you're losing, even if you're not a top team, you have to push numbers forward. As you can see here, Real have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, all pushed up, making runs into that attacking third. Asensio, the center back here, is kind of like the playmaker. But it's important that if you want to press forward, press high, you need numbers forward. And it has to be a cohesive thing where you're all on the same page. Even if you're not pressing and you're attacking in this situation, it gives the defensive line a whole lot more to deal with if you have more than just two wingers, a striker, and maybe a 10. So let's see how Real work this play. Using the width with Fran Garcia. This is very important, especially if you're playing a system with high-flying fullbacks. You want to get it out to them, and it spreads out. It forces the opposing defense, Leganes defense, to spread out and shift. And in that shift, gaps will open. As you can see here, Bellingham finds a little bit of space, and let's see what he does. And let's pause it there again. So, 4 numbers in the box. And Bellingham didn't just shoot it and stop playing. He shot it and sprinted in just to maybe get a chance of the ball popping to him. And lo and behold, here we have simple interaction between a fullback and midfielder. Modric is checking, and it's so important to see what Fran does. If you're a fullback, you have to learn how to do this. And he recognizes that Modric is coming into this space. He's not needed there anymore. He needs to make that run down the line, and one of two things will happen. He will make that run, and the fullback will track him, but that's okay because that creates space for Modric. If the fullback doesn't track him, you'll see what happens. he then has just the solution for Modric to play that into the space. This is just another example of Fran playing high, which creates space for Madrid to collect the ball and pass to Mbappe. Now we have a situation where Rodrigo was substituted into the game, and I want to highlight that this is more of like the first team here. Out of possession, Ancelotti employs a 4-4-2, which creates a little bit more solidity with the 2 blocks of 4, and Vini and Mbappe, we know they don't really like to press that much. They can kind of stay up there and just press the defense rather than tracking back. But Rodrigo is very unselfish, and he will drop into that right midfield role and put a shift in, as you'll see right here. And this is the last highlight. Mbappe, que jugador. Got the match MVP and played a great game, not just because of the 2 goals, but also was very, very lively on the attack. Now, was that the best game for Real Madrid? Definitely not. Defensively, super weak on the width, and those quick, pacey Leganes wingers did cause a lot of problem. Is this going to be a problem in the future? Depends on who we play. If we played someone like PSG, I worry so much. Desiree Doué versus Lucas Vazquez, that's a mismatch if I've ever seen it. But I think at this point in the season, we have a lot of injuries. Carvajal's back in training. If we can get those players back in, Carvajal, Eder Militao, Alaba back to fitness, I think these problems will be solved. Also, Chouameni, I don't believe played. I think he got subbed on. He's a big part of the defensive solidity, whether he's playing center back or CDM. But that's it for today's video, guys. We did get a bit lucky there in the end, but we won, got the 3 points, and now we are hot on Barcelona's trail. Only 3 points behind the league leaders, with El Clasico still to come. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you like, make sure you subscribe, and come back for more. I'll see you guys in a bit. Peace.